What is it like being Captain America?
It's the greatest honor of my life.
Why'd you give up that shield?
Symbols are nothing without the women and men that give them meaning.
Superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. That shield, he gave you that shield and you threw it away like it was nothing. So maybe he was wrong about you. And if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
Welcome back to Normies Like Us. You heard it up top. We're about to get patriotic up in this piece. Talking,
oh boy,
the man, the myth, the legend. Talking the replacement of Captain America, because we're about to talk Marvel's Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Baron Colin.
I'll be the pod smasher.
Joseph Bucky Barnes. Go full name there.
This is the winner, Jacob.
Nice, you got your jacket on, you know, all
Sure.
weather. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier, two titular characters, and we're going to be talking the first two episodes of this six-part series, right? So we'll probably end up doing a look back at all of it when it's said and done, but we've checked out the first two, and that's kind of what we're going to be starting with on this episode. So thanks for joining us, Normies. Thanks for picking up the shield on this episode, that is.
Ooh, I like that. Second Disney Plus show. We don't have to compare it to WandaVision, but just, you know, we're going to talk about what we think, what we're liking about it. How are you guys loving this post-blip, post-endgame Marvel content, though, being our second thing? Are you liking it, Joe?
It's definitely interesting, right? Because when Far From Home came out, they were like, this is basically the epilogue to the the Thanos saga, the Infinity Saga. This is going to be dealing with that aftermath. And what we found is everything afterwards is dealing with that aftermath, right? Like every different aspect of society has been hit so hard. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier in just these two episodes has given more of a lay of the land post-blip because, you know, WandaVision, we're stuck in just Westview, New Jersey. This is kind of opening it up to see how the global community handled half the people going and half of them coming back. So I think that's really fascinating. I like that we're not just ignoring it and moving on, because that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
No, that is the big fear, or that it wouldn't get strange and weird, but it's cool. Jacob, as a guy who did get snapped, you're back with us after 10 years.
Finally.
What are you thinking of it?
Well, I really appreciate being like 5 years younger than the rest of you now. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
He's out here still like dabbing and saying, what are those?
Yeah. It's 2015, baby.
Damn, Daniel.
Gangnam Style.
He just learned to floss.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of interesting implications. They could do a whole show about like just some normal people, and like some of them got blipped and some of them different, and then just like the different, you know, what they go through when they come back and stuff. But it is interesting to see, you know, it basically picks up right after the blip happens, right? All these different Marvel things, like we see what's her name from WandaVision literally come back in the hospital, right? So it's interesting just to see how, you know, the Marvel universe is going to continue from here on.
Yeah, and from my perspective, after the blip, it is interesting seeing kind of the global perspective of Joe touched on. You're seeing these different factions, you know, like, you know, the flag smashers, you know, one world, one people kind of idea, where it's like, oh, were things better? Kind of the Thanos was right crew of this universe being like, yeah, maybe we should go back to that.
Right.
So it is interesting. I do have a question, Colin, and I also want to get your take on this post-blip universe. Was this supposed to be after Black Widow? Is that the normal release cycle?
Yes, totally. I believe it was post Black Widow. Jacob, to correct you real quick, they do have that show. It's called The Leftovers. That is canon to the Marvel universe, obviously.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Like I said, wacky and weird. It's cool. Monica coming back, like you said, Jacob and Wanda, was its own frightful, weird body horror. I don't necessarily need to see that going forward and get everybody's point of view of, I remember the second I was brought back to this universe, but it is that nice card to have in your hand to say something you can play at any time of, we all have this weird PTSD of a cosmic event that affected us.
Yeah, and we saw it first in Spider-Man, and they kind of use that mostly for comedic effect, right?
Like
so
Brad
it's
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just to see the serious implications of everything is interesting.
Yeah. And
I think the worst thing about it is that it's called The Blip. I really don't
Yeah, everyone just agreed to call it.
crazy.
Joe, that is the Disney of it all, where it's like we all called it the snap or the snapping right after it happened, and they're like, no, it's called the blip, and we're all like, well, he's called Baby Yoda, and they're like, no, he's called the child.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no,
Right.
shut up.
Well, it's interesting to think about the blip even because they were like a little bit ahead of their time of like social commentary of like, a big world-changing event which actually happened, right? Called the COVID.
Mhm.
They kind of predicted that a little bit, and like it's different, but it's kind of similar in that kind of everyone in the world was affected in some way, So it's interesting to see how that kind of ties into real life events.
Yeah, and like, how do you go back to normal after something so world changing? I mean, I definitely think, yeah, in a weird way, there's themes in this that I think were unintended at the time of its inception that are echoing quite loudly, nowadays. And
Totally.
just generally, my thoughts on the first two before we dive in. I am enjoying it. I'm looking forward to where it's going without, getting into it. And I didn't think I would like it as much as maybe I do. So we'll see where it goes once we dive into it. But how about you guys, Joe? Just generally, how you feeling?
I mean, my initial reactions are really positive. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'll save the rest for when we get into it. But I will say, like, it had the biggest day one premiere on Disney Plus. So people were immediately more into this, probably just riding off the success of WandaVision. But I don't know if this show is going to capture the audience and the whole world as much as WandaVision did, because I think it is a much more straightforward Marvel action adventure show, and it doesn't have that kind of weirdness that draws people who maybe don't really care for the MCU or about superheroes at all in. So I'm loving it, but I could see it not really standing the test of time.
Well, yeah, because I think WandaVision kind of caught on through like word of mouth, and people are like, oh, it's like super weird and stuff. So more people tuned in than normally would to like a Marvel property. So it didn't have the biggest, episode one numbers, but it caught on over time. Whereas this, people, they're riding high off of WandaVision now. But yeah, it is a more standard Marvel affair. I'm liking it so far. I think the action, like the first action scene in the first episode, was really good. Like they have really high production value for a TV show. I'm interested to see with the so-called villains, the flag smashers. I think there's going to be more to them. Obviously, that their reasoning is like, oh, they liked life during the blip, but they want a unified world with no borders. Like that sounds pretty good to me. So I'm supposed to think they're the villains, but I mean, they're basically
Star
like,
Trek, for God's sake. We're into like a
right. Well,
society.
They're essentially Antifa, right? So they're the Antifa super soldiers that you heard about. So it should be interesting to see because
they were
they've got
the Capitol disguised, right? Yeah, I heard about
no,
that.
John. Well, because they've got this new guy, right?
Smasher.
John Walker. I think they're going to do something with him where he's like a super, far right nationalist or something, and then Antifa is going to be, maybe they're not all bad, something like that. But it is, Marvel, so we'll see what they pull out.
They do touch on some, like we were saying, real world stuff here, and we will get into it as we dive in. But there's social issues. They are touching on things that maybe Marvel would have kept their fingers, or Disney might have stayed away from. Maybe they'll have a light touch with it, but they are introducing ideas and certain, social topics here, which is, I think, a good thing to do with a Captain America show. Is, what is the nature of patriotism and the American spirit, and what is embodying that, and everything like that. So
totally
good timing.
I just think if you call a group the Flag Smashers, and then they're all about unified world and everything, of course I'm gonna be on their side. So it'd be interesting to see how they make them villains in a way.
Yeah.
We also got to see him smash a flag or two at some point.
I figure the burners is easier than smashing, but yeah, we could smash a flag or two. You freeze them first. Colin, how about you, though? What are your general thoughts on this before we dive right in?
Mike, I do not like it.
Wow.
I do not like it even a little bit. So I'm happy to set up a little frosty two-hander.
Yeah.
One sweet, one sour. We'll go into this one with some differing opinions on this bad boy.
Wow, that's always good to have a differing point of view. So, as the main characters also don't always get along, I guess we're not going to on this one completely either, and that's okay. So, how about we suit up and jump right into Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Normies Like Us.
good friend of mine once said, "The price of freedom is high. It always will be." It's time. Where do we start?
We're back. Normies Like Us. We're talking Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. Little history first, boys. Should we kind of talk about the two lead characters a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Not new to the MCU. Both of them have kind of popped up. Bucky obviously first appeared in First Avenger. Falcon popped up in the sequel, The Winter Soldier. Both Captain America films are kind of spin-offs from that. That's the relationship in the comics. Joe, Falcon, a character you and I kind of like quite a bit, especially when he eventually becomes Captain America, was not necessarily a sidekick of Cap, but someone Cap would bump into a lot. In 1969, he's introduced. He's in an issue where Cap is in the streets of New York. They get in a fight by mistake. Falcon is guarding an area he thinks he's the hero of Harlem, basically, way before Luke Cage was. You know, he's trying to protect the neighborhood. Him and Cap realize they're on the same side. Hey, I'm going to start working with you, Cap. And from there, he never really kind of gets his own spin-off comics necessarily. He's always kind of a background character, really kind of a teammate. And most of his issues in the comics back in that day are basically, hey, I like being a hero. A black citizen notices him and says, hey, it's weird that you work for that honky Captain America. And he freaks out and has that internal struggle going, it is weird that I work for this honky Captain America. I should be my own man. And he's a mutant. He is a mutant character.
Yeah, that's
cannot
very
fly.
annoying there.
He wears a wingsuit, Joe, and his ability is that he has empathy with avian creatures. He can feel what birds are feeling. So,
Aquaman
Mike,
of the
like our
air.
beloved Beastmaster, he can just shoot
I
out
didn't know
those
that.
rays up into a hawk.
That's not in the
That's right.
movies.
That is
No,
not
none
in
of
the
that
movie.
stuff.
He's just
But
a
I
normal
think
person,
they,
I think.
I think they do a great job throwing the nod to it. Falcon has his own sidekick, Red Wing, his faithful bird, who is like his eyes in the sky at all times. So they have
Just
now
like
turned that
Beastmaster.
into his just like
I wish it was
Beastmaster.
I wish it was a real bird, not like a little robot.
I kind of
drone
wish it was a real bird, too.
And now it's a little robot. Yeah, sure.
It works,
could be
it
real
works,
bird.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense for it to be real bird because he's not a mutant. But they give it little squeaks and squawks now, which I appreciate. Like it makes little bird noises, which is
It's
adorable.
R2D2.
R2B2, yeah. R2B2.
I mean, yeah, they call him Falcon. He could just be really into birds, like as a personality trait, and
I
then he could have a
guess.
pet bird.
yeah.
Everybody's got a gimmick.
But I think,
Exactly.
Gone
yeah.
a long way from the first introduction in Winter Soldier, where it's just a guy in an army green t-shirt wearing a gray sort of flight suit, to literally now, Joe, wouldn't you say, a Falcon accurate costume where the only thing that's wrong with him is he does not have Red Wing on his arm with a gigantic bird.
Yeah, I would say the costume, especially now in the show, is right where it needs to be. And that evolution, I think, has been one of the smoothest in the MCUs. I mean, if you go from, like you said, the first appearance, which is a lot like the Ultimate Universe, where he was just a dude that Captain America, knew at the time, who was just wearing his regular military clothes, happened to have a wingsuit. By the time you get to Civil War, you see a little update. By the time you get to Infinity War and Endgame, there's a little update. And now we're here with the full-fledged suit. He's even got the gold in there. It looks great.
It looks great.
Yeah, and for
You
a
guys like his
character,
costume? Do you like Falcon?
I mean, for me, like again, not one of the characters I would gravitate towards, and we'll get to Bucky. Like both of these characters aren't two that I would ever list as my favorite, right? But what they're doing with these shows is making them characters that I actually do like a lot, and we'll get into that more. But I like the look. I think the suit, and obviously I would prefer a real bird that he's telepathic with, but I'll take the drone bird. I think it does match a contemporary take on the character, and yeah, I'm here for it. It works for me. Jacob, what do you think?
I agree with you, and I mean, I like Winter Soldier's look better when he was like the
Long
the
hair?
assassin with the
Don't
long
care?
hair. Yeah, exactly. He looked pretty cool, but now he's like just a normal guy. Still got like a metal arm, but yeah.
Yeah, and I want to shout out. Oh, sorry, Joe, but I just want to shout out. We've done an entire Captain America episode that kind of
Totally.
taught me a lot of things that are making me interested in the show. But so go back and listen to that because a lot of the backstory of some of this stuff is covered there. But not to cut you off, Joe, I wanted to quickly plug that.
Oh no, I was just going to take it to the flip side of the show. So we went through Falcon's history. Winter Soldier, on the other hand, Falcon was all the way back in 1969. Winter Soldier did not appear in the comics until 2005. Like, Bucky was around as a kid when Captain America was back in war times. It wasn't until like Ed Brubaker and 2005, I think, when they brought the Winter Soldier in as a villain, who would eventually grow into an anti-hero like we see now.
Yeah.
The lesson was, Joe, Bucky is dead. Uncle Ben is dead. That was the rule of Marvel. We're not
the two people who would not come back in comics.
And it's one of those things where we talked about it in the Captain America episode. They didn't invent Captain America. Stan Lee and Joe Kirby bought Captain America from a different imprint. They eventually folded into theirs. He's a legacy character, essentially. Jack Kirby did invent Bucky. There's always been this like comic book nerdum of fans, of young people like Ed Brubaker, like Joe said. People are like, I gotta have Bucky in my story. He's so dumb and he's so worthless, but I can be the guy who figures him out. Yeah, he's just a loser with a domino mask who fires a Tommy gun wildly in the air, but I'm the one who can do it. But the rule still was, you cannot bring him forward. So all the comics were old Defenders stuff, where it's like, gee whiz, Captain America, I gotta go get an egg cream because the Nazis are about to come. And it's like, oh, cool, swashbuckling adventure, really dumb. Ed Brubaker goes, what if the ultimate Captain America villain could be Bucky Barnes, and brings him back as the Winter Soldier, introduces him as this anti-hero killer character. Not one of my favorite MCU characters. Jacob, you were just saying, do you like Bucky? Do you like Sebastian Stan's performance as Bucky?
Yeah, I mean, Bucky, he's kind of like the Jimmy Olsen to Captain America's Superman, right? He's a sidekick at first, but I think it's interesting. I like it when
more Batman and Robin than Jimmy Olsen.
Right, well, yeah, he's almost like he's like Jason Todd coming back as
the other character that's never allowed to come back.
So
on.
Yeah.
Right. So I like a story like that where it's revealed that he's working for the. I mean, he's mind controlled, but I think it's an interesting thing to do with a character when you don't really have anything else to do with him. So yeah.
And both of those stories, the return of Jason Todd and the birth of the Winter Soldier, happened within like 4 or 5 years of each other. I mean, it was kind of like whatever one hand does, the other mimics. So like, yeah, of course, totally. Jason Todd is the easiest comparison here because it's the innocence that falls and then comes back twisted and dark.
Crazy now.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I think in the MCU, I think Bucky has an interesting story from all through the Captain America movies and now into this. I think it's one of the more interesting arcs that a MCU character has.
Yeah, and I'm really liking the arc they're setting up, which again we'll get into that stuff after we kind of talk the characters. But I do like what they're doing with Bucky now more than almost anything I've seen in the mainline MCU. Kind of seeing where he's at. I do enjoy that. So talking about the innocence that's getting twisted and comes back dark, what about if, say, patriotism and duty to country gets twisted and goes dark? I'm really excited about this character because I'm a huge Wyatt Russell fan. He was great in Overlord. The new Captain America, I mean, you guys taught me before on the Captain America episode, eventually U.S. Agent. Great names, right? What do you guys, think about this so far? Kind of what's the history of this character? Yeah, Joe, what's up?
It's going to be interesting. I think U.S. Agent, I think, is one of the toughest characters to do and do well because in the show he's going to have to be he'll have to be a villain at some point.
Which is what Jacob was posing at the beginning, right? Like that's his story, right? He kind of turns heel.
You also have to bring him back at some point. So I don't know how you're going to balance that. I don't know how you're going to put him so far off the reservation and then pull him back. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
Well, when we were kids in the 90s and Joe and I were reading comic books, he was Captain America. Like, Joe is 100% right. He's introduced in the 70s. It's the West Coast Avengers thing. We talked about them a lot in our WandaVision episode. Go back and listen to that one. It's kind of curious that they're adapting a lot of that stuff, but he was a guy who they're like, well, I don't know, put him on the B team. Like, that's a psychopath that we could unleash every once in a while. Like, he's kind of like a missile that they directed things.
He's also kind of like a Hank Pym, where it's like, he's a core Avenger. He's a good guy when it's convenient, and he is a bad guy when it's convenient. Balancing that on a TV show is going to be a lot more difficult. I think I was shocked to see Battlestar show up. Like that was kind of my big oh, they're really going the whole way. So Battlestar is a part of the Bold Urban Commandos, the Buckies, and those were the backup for U.S. Agent when he went rogue. The Buckies.
I don't like it.
I
hate it.
actually read a little about this. So originally he was called Bucky as like John Walker's Bucky Barnes basically, but then there's like negative racial connotations to Buck, right? So someone pointed that out to them and they're like, okay, we'll call him Battlestar. So yeah, with John Walker in the MCU, I think it's interesting how they're doing him too, because so obviously he's working for the government, which Steve Rogers never was like officially affiliated with the US government. Now it's like he's actually the mouthpiece for the US government. So I think that's an interesting angle. And they're kind of pitting Falcon and the Winter Soldier against the US in certain ways. And so I feel like they're doing something where they're going to end up siding more with the Flag Smashers, or it's going to be kind of they're caught in the middle between these. But I think the U.S. is not going to be seen as a totally good thing, which I don't think they should be, obviously. But the other interesting thing is like one big criticism you can say about the MCU, obviously, is that they are funded sometimes by the U.S. DoD and that kind of thing. So they kind of have to make the U.S. look good in certain ways. So it's interesting that they're kind of being a little critical of the government in the show. So I want to see how far that goes, but I do find that whole angle very interesting. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Flag Smashers too, because that is also from the comic books. Flag Smasher was a villain who's passed the mantle a couple different times, just like one villain. And now they've done like the classic MCU thing where you like take a villain and you turn him into an organization, or I am the real Mandarin from Iron Man 3. Like they always do something like this where they twist one thing and make it into something else. Personally, I think Flag Smasher in the comics is not all that great. Basically, like Red
really
Skull,
hates flags.
Yeah, Red Skull is Red Skull is to like Nazis as like Flag Smasher is to like anti-nationalism, basically. But he's in the comics like the opposite of what they're building in the show. In the show, it's a young woman who's like obviously comes from a poorer background and is like about helping the people and everything like that. The original Flag Smasher is like the rich son of a Swiss banker who's just like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So
I mean,
really like
Flag Smasher. Yeah, that's interesting because like Flag Smasher as a person would be like a very silly idea or name, but as a group it sounds a little better, the Flag Smashers, because that's kind of like they're like anarchists.
Like 1985 when this character was introduced, and Captain America, his comics weren't flying off the shelves. Like there were lifelong fans who loved Captain America as a character, but it was one of those characters that was struggling as you had other more exciting. The X-Men were here now. Captain America wasn't moving books like he used to.
Right. But I mean, the thing I always loved about Steve Rogers, Captain America, as a character is that he's not just, blatantly pro-America all the time. Like his name's Captain America, but he stands for the American ideals, but he's not just a mouthpiece for the government.
Steve Rogers is the American dream. U.S. Agent is America's actuality, unfortunately. And, I like what you said, Jacob, about the criticism of the government stuff. To go so hard with this is the advertisement that would get kids going. Army posters with Captain America high-fiving people and stuff. I mean, this is a film franchise that made the biggest deal with the U.S. Air Force when they made Captain Marvel since Top Gun. I mean, there's going to be young ladies who are like, that's the reason I joined the military. I don't love the propaganda. I inherently... I don't love Captain America. He's corny. Joe, when we were playing Super Nintendo games as a kid and I would play Captain America and the Avengers, and you had your 4 picks of Hawkeye, Iron Man, White Vision, and Captain America, I'd be like, okay, this corny motherfucker to the side. Let's see. Who else do I have? Okay, Arrow Guy, you're out. Okay, so Robot Man, my brother's playing as. And this guy, I think he's a ghost. Yeah, I'll be the ghost guy.
I mean,
Here's my thesis for the episode and my thesis of Captain America in general. Captain America, comics, movies, the character himself is best when it is a criticism of America. I feel like the show is heading in that direction, which honors the legacy of modern Captain America books in a really exciting way for me.
Totally, and they've done this. They've already kind of done this with Civil War, where, he's came out totally against the government, documentation of superheroes or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so where really Iron Man was pushing the pro government side of things, where he's like, Captain America, he's just very against that sort of thing. So they've definitely leaned into that, and Falcon, follows in his footsteps. So I think there's going to be some criticism of the government here, which I just think is very interesting. And we even see with Falcon, obviously they talk about, how was he paid during all this stuff with, working for the Avengers and stuff.
Donations. What
right,
the fuck?
And you think like, oh wait, no, Tony Stark is supposed to be like a rich billionaire. Why couldn't he just pay the other Avengers? So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I think the theme of this is. Obviously, it has to do with responsibility and legacy and, what is truth, justice in the American way, right? Is that a stepping over a line? But it's
Superman, but it works.
You know what I mean? We just finished the Snyder Cut. It's in my head. But, you have U.S. Agent, who basically is the version of Captain America they always wanted, that they can kind of keep, under their thumb, and he'll do everything they want, versus the ideals that, Cap wanted to have Falcon uphold, that he put the shield down. And that's kind of what's interesting to me, is these two things are going to come to a head. The idea of the most nationalist Captain America versus the least nationalist group. We have the power broker thrown in there. Things are going to get weird, and I'm here for the next 6 episodes.
So I have a feeling they might be a part of the big three.
What big three?
The big three.
What big three?
Androids, aliens, and wizards.
That's not a thing.
That's definitely a thing.
No, it's not.
So every time we fight one of the three.
So who are you fighting now, Gandalf?
How do you know about Gandalf?
I read The Hobbit in 1937 when it first came out.
So you see my point?
No, I don't. There are no wizards.
Doctor Strange
is a sorcerer.
A sorcerer is a wizard without a hat. Think about it, right? I'm right. I just came up with that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I like the direction that they're going in. I think it's interesting that they're giving us nuanced villains with this Flag Smashers, which I think they're not going to totally turn out to be villains. Obviously, they're painting them in a very positive light so far with that sequence at the end where everyone loves them and stuff. The common people love them, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier have a immediate disdain for the new Captain America when he tries to recruit them to help him. So I think that's going to be interesting dynamics. So I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. So I am enjoying it so far because of that mainly.
I mean, it's not Steve. That's it's like shitting on the grave of their best friend. I mean, Colin, what do you make? You have Bucky and Falcon looking at this asshole stepping in.
Right.
Where he shouldn't.
And that's great tension. I love all that. I said I didn't like it earlier. I'll bring up my 2 points real quick. You guys said great action sequences. I agree to a point. I would say, unfortunately, now we are at the repetitive status of what a Marvel action sequence looks like. So even though we are getting big ones per episode, usually one, outdoors, with a flat white sky, so you get good color balance on the people that are participating in it. Very staged, very choreographed, very nice and easy. Okay, let's get out. Mike, you said earlier, if Black Widow had come out before this, I mean, they keep using this buzzword. I think this is a standard every action people are going for now. John Wick, yes, if you're doing the gun stuff, but Mission Impossible, I think, is the dragon Marvel chases, where they go, we're so close. This is our Mission Impossible of the MCU. They say that about Black Widow. Oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this is our Mission Impossible of the MCU. We're going to have so much blah, blah. No, you're never going to have the practical action. You're never going to have a psychopath who's going to kill himself trying to do this stuff.
Right.
And to me, it's
I think
never going to look as good.
The aerial stuff with Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon, yeah.
Captain Falcon, our favorite Smash character.
In the first episode, right, when he, is flying around and stuff, I thought that stuff looked really good. But then you're right, when they just get the traditional, when they're standing on the train, trading punches or whatever,
Do
it didn't
karate
look
at each other.
Yeah.
Falcon has a cool fighting style in that he's like, I need to get out of here as fast as I can and then dive bomb people and use momentum to attack. That's awesome. You can tell that the shield is going to be awesome when he gets that eventually to use that. But then when it's like him landing and punching at people, I'm like, Falcon, get the fuck out of there. You don't have any super
Right, he's not. I mean, yeah, he's
he
not
left
a
his
super
guns at home.
soldier. He's
No.
literally just a guy in a wingsuit, right? So literally anyone could do what he did if they train with that wingsuit. Whereas Winter Soldier obviously is a super soldier. So
is he, Jacob? Joe, remind
I
me
thought
again.
so, yeah.
So we learn in Civil War that his blood has been tampered, that it was what was used for the other soldiers. I cannot figure this out.
In the comics, it's the Infinity Serum, or I think that's what it's called. It's
Formula,
a,
I believe.
Yeah, Infinity Formula. It's a bastardized version of the Super Soldier Serum because they couldn't quite get it right. That is what it is in the MCU. Is a bastardized version of Steve's serum.
It's enough that he can jump out of a helicopter and land on the ground and not really get injured.
Yeah.
So,
Bull fucking shit. Anybody
Hey, that's
should
the
do
best superhero landing in the MCU so far.
that. Truth.
It's the Black Widow landing, right?
yeah, except she doesn't get up.
I feel like that's becoming a trope now of just people like that was in Aquaman too. Like
Here I
Jason
go.
Momoa jumps out of a plane at one point.
No.
It's been since Iron Man 2. They have done the
Right.
jump out of the airplane action sequence in the Marvel Universe. Every one of the characters has done it now. Hulk
But they're
does
doing
it
it
in
in DC
Ragnarok.
too now.
Tom Cruise
Aquaman
probably did
did
it
it.
first in Mission Impossible.
I like it that it's a nod to Steve because Steve always jumps out of the helicopter or the plane without a parachute and does it great, lands like so gracefully, and then you get his buddy who's like, "Yeah, I can do it." It's like, no, you can't, man. You're like, it's just another example of how no one can live up to the ghost of Steve. Which, by the way, where is Steve? Because he's
On the
not
moon,
Just
Joe.
an old
dead.
man.
yeah,
An
he's
old
not
man.
dead from last time we
He's
saw
doing
him.
moon stuff. Like we've been talking a lot about the action. I want to take it out of the action. I think the cinematography in this show is gorgeous. Like I think some of the writing can be hit or miss, but I love the aesthetic of the show. Like when Bucky is in his therapist's office in the first episode, that sequence is gorgeous. Like it's just really well framed and really well executed to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like the tone of this a lot, and again, just seeing, Bucky's apartment where like he doesn't have shit, like he doesn't even have a chair.
He doesn't have furniture.
Yeah, he's just sitting on the floor, and it's like, we saw Cap go through this journey of man out of time, and like how you can't live without a war. You need to be always fighting, kind of thing. He kept being told. Now we see Bucky after being the Winter Soldier coming back to himself. His best friend's old now, and he's now the fish out of water who can't adjust to a regular life and is dealing with the consequences of his past. And I like that.
Yes.
And the line that sums it up is when they're sitting cross-legged together, and he's like, Cap gave you that shield because he believed in you. Maybe he was wrong. And if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. And like that's the heartbeat of this whole show. And I'm really stoked for where that character arc is going with Bucky.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, seeing him making amends for all the past wrongs that he did is just a very interesting story hook. So I like that a lot. I think seeing the real world implications of them, they fought a big war with Infinity War against Thanos, now coming back being normal people, Falcon trying to get a bank loan and being denied, like just seeing that real world element of like now they have to come back and try to be just live life and be people, and like how hard that is, and seeing Bucky's relationship with the elderly Japanese man,
That was his homie, right, from the war.
Yeah, that's the grandfather of the guy that he killed.
Twist, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just
I thought
guy
it was
he
like-
was watching.
He literally
Okay.
just met this guy because he's trying to make amends for killing his son or his grandson, and basically just spending time with him. And then you see, and it cuts to him like, in that hotel, and you see what he did. And it's just like really heartbreaking. So I think that's a very interesting, way to go with Bucky. Yeah.
Well, and then to flip it to the other character here, you have Falcon, a superhero that the world admires, that everyone wants to stop and take pictures with. But if he's just out in the street and the cops don't recognize that he is Falcon, he is getting stopped and frisked.
Mm-hmm.
His
right.
family is like pretty let down by him, and now he's kind of like let down Steve by like walking away. I think the journey of being like a guy who everyone sees as a hero, who everyone sees as like this larger than life character, who has continuously like turned his back on big responsibilities, and how is he going to come to terms with that? I think that's pretty exciting.
Anthony Mackie has this like Jean-Claude Van Damme career where he does so many of these straight to Netflix action movies or thrillers or whatever, where I just think he's terrible. He can come through in the clutch. There is something about the character of Falcon that he just connects to so well, and something that he just really loves about playing the character, you can tell, and especially now the Southern roots that they've roped into the character too. I love it. The race relation stuff on this, like you were saying, Joe, the stop and frisk, the fact that we've got Isaiah Bradley, a really cool character,
I was so excited.
Captain America.
Yeah, can we talk about that, like his origin?
Yeah, that's another thing that I think was interesting because it kind of is critical again of the U.S. government covering this up, and Steve Rogers didn't know about it apparently, so that's a really
put him in jail.
This was one of the things that I was hoping the show would touch on. I thought it would go that Zemo exposes America's dark history and that Isaiah Bradley had existed. Turns out Winter Soldier knew about him all along, but this was a man that they experimented on and turned into a Captain America, but he never got the respect or anything like that.
Arm off, Joe. He's a badass in this show too.
Yeah, he kicks the shit out of Winter Soldier back in the day in Korea. But yeah, I mean, I've heard of this character of Isaiah Bradley, and like the scene where he throws a little tin into the wall, and like touching on real issues. Like the U.S. government did experiment on African Americans during Vietnam and stuff, and it's tragic and it's terrible. So to bring something that commentates on that into the Marvel TV world, because now it's in the comics, I think that's really awesome. And then his grandson is also like a character in the universe, right?
Eli Bradley, again, I said West Coast Avengers, Joe. Young Avengers, I mean, will he have some strength?
I mean, Speed and Wiccan, like those are Young Avengers. Like all of these shows have ties to both Young Avengers and
Hawkeye Girl.
Yeah, exactly. So both of the things they could be are Young Avengers and West Coast Avengers. And honestly, if this is the quality we're going to get across the board, I'm here for both of them.
And who does Eli become?
I definitely think they're leaning into
the Patriot. I think is his name, right?
The Patriot. Tom Brady. Got it.
Yeah.
He's the Buccaneer now.
Hard to play games.
The Patriot.
It sucks, dude. It sucks for him in a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're really leaning into the young Avengers, because I think obviously Spider-Man's going to be a central a leading Avenger for a while in this new phase of the MCU, and then you have Speed and Wiccan, and then you can bring in you have
Kate
Black Widow's sister,
Cassie
maybe,
Lang,
from the Black Widow movie,
Scott Lang's daughter.
Yeah.
And she's been shown in the trailers, right? I mean, we were supposed to have met her by now, I think.
Sharon Carter, we will see in this series, who was the niece of Peggy Carter, who founded S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm making all kinds of mistakes this episode, listeners, so just ignore me and my Superman. And
These are your favorite. These are your comics, Mike.
Yeah, but Joe, you mentioned the stop and frisk scene. I thought that was very interesting, too. Perhaps a little on the nose, like if there's one way to communicate racism in America, it would be like having him get stopped by a policeman like that, but that does happen in real life, and him being a celebrity, they don't recognize him, but then as soon as they recognize him, like, oh, sorry to bother you. And that does happen, like if you're like an NFL player or something like that, that actually happens in America. So pretty fucked up, but I
think they do better subtle nods too. Like there's a couple times where it's like Falcon is saying straight to Bucky, like, you didn't get it. You don't get it. Steve didn't get it. Like, you guys will never get it. You don't understand.
Different.
You'll never understand. Like, you get the same thing with Isaiah. But, like, honestly, the fact that Disney is doing any of this, I think, is good.
No, yeah, that's what
in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed by the amount of criticalness of, our society. We live in a society or whatever, but that
that's right.
Only the trailers.
The show. So, yeah, and obviously it is Disney, and it's partly funded by the U.S. DoD, but So how far are they going to go? But I think that's a very interesting thing they're kind of leaning into with these shows. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important stuff, and I think it's also comes from the comics. When Falcon takes over, he's not getting as much acceptance from the public and stuff. That's like something that, he's got to reconcile and deal with. I also like the themes of, legacy and how he was so ready to give up the shield to the government. That's how it opens, which everyone at the end of Endgame was like, well, where's this going to go? Is he just going to start off? And it's like, he's got to grow. And that's what the show is showing his growth. So he gives up the legacy, but then with the boat, he does not want to sell his family's boat.
Totally.
Right? So it's like he's so attached to the one thing. That's his shield. Exactly the point. So he's on both sides of it.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows a bit of naivete of him turning down the shield, but then being surprised that they would appoint a new Captain America. It's like, what did you think? They're just not gonna, use the shield anymore if you give it back to the US. Or use
that propaganda that they got,
right. So it's kind of him, he's starting to lose faith in institutions, right? So very interesting, and I want to see where this show goes.
They're even talking about going rogue. Let's just take the damn shield. It's like, that's the government, dude.
Like, it is amazing how I'm like, fuck you, John Walker, you're a loser. And then I see him throw the shield, and I'm like, you know what? Not bad. Like,
he does might have the shield pretty well. It's gonna be really interesting to see how you balance this and where we go from here. Because the other thing about the show is we're going into episode 3, and they are building up Zemo like he is Darth Vader. Like, we have not seen him yet. He is Hannibal Lecter in a cell. Like, we're still waiting for that reveal. Who knows? Like, this could be anything from Mad Bomb to a Dark Avengers at this point. Like, the plot could really go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we get in the trailer Zemo saying, there could be no superheroes and stuff too. So,
right.
So you think Zemo's going to be tied in with the Flag Smashers?
I think Power Broker maybe.
Power Broker.
Interesting.
Yeah, which the Power Broker turns, John Walker and Battlestar into pro wrestlers in the comics, and then they become vigilantes or whatever.
I don't want them to get powers, because the other thing that I like about this show, and it's interesting that there was a warning now post the tragic shooting that just occurred, but is just gun violence. Like, Joe, we saw Captain America shoot a handgun in First Avenger, but there's something so different about how John Walker shoots a handgun. And how the Flag Smashers are just about it. He is into it, and then the Flag Smashers just get killed by bullets. Like, they're not impervious.
Yeah,
right. They probably have some kind of, obviously their super serum or whatever isn't as strong as what Steve Rogers had, but. Yeah, it is interesting when he pulls out the gun, because it's such a contrast to Steve Rogers.
Motherfucker! I'm not throwing that shield.
Yeah, he's all about shield defense, right? Whereas, he's busting out the gun.
Well, and that's one of the things that, like, everyone who has been Captain America in the comics, like, has a different fighting style, means something different. They all represent America at the time, right? Like, Bucky, when he is Captain America, carries a huge knife and a gun and, like, barely uses the shield. It's way more like, oh, Captain America's coming at me like Michael Myers. Whereas Falcon, like, doesn't use a gun at all. I mean, he uses his pet bird and the shield 99% of the time.
Yeah, and Rip the bird in this one, in the second episode, which I guess that's how Walker was tracking him, because the government hacked it. He was soldering it in the first episode.
That would make sense. Mike
didn't hack it. It's government property, because he's working for the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
I have to hit that moment, because this is my second why I do not like this show so far. Having just come off Zack Snyder's Justice League, where I put up with so many people being like, yeah, this is what it really is. Fuck all that bland robot normal stuff in the Marvel Universe. And I'm like, no, shut up. It's not like that. Oh, wait, they are doing the standard Marvel cinematography and fighting scenes. Well, it's not like they're going to have a million quips. Oh, they've got a million quips in this scene.
Well, for this one, it makes sense.
Jacob, let me say the line. How dare you? When he has his body wrapped up, and he says, nice to join the party to Falcon as he comes down. And then Redbird gets hit, and he says, I always wanted to do that. And then he gets hit by those guys. Shut the fuck up, man. Come on.
They
Bucky wouldn't
want
do
it to
that.
feel like Rush Hour, and the problem is like Bucky wouldn't do that. Like Bucky
would not do that.
Yeah. I'm liking
He's
the
too
show,
old
but
for
there
this
are
shit. He's getting too
yeah,
old for this shit to
like,
reference
there we
another
go.
buddy cop.
there are moments where it feels like I don't know, like they're forcing they hate each other a little too hard. Like I feel like that should be a little more
Daring
tongue-in-cheek.
contest? Come on.
Well, I think the reason the show even exists is because, we saw the relationship in Civil War, and they kind of had the back and forth rapport as the two, sidekicks to Captain America, basically. And I just remember the airport fight scene. They had a bunch of quips and stuff, and people like that. So they're like, let's make a whole show about them together. And we kind of, they're the odd couple. But yeah, I agree. I think the Marvel quip stuff, when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. So, things like, Thor Ragnarok, I thought, the humor works really well in that, but it's a little more hit or miss sometimes. And I think with the cinematography, I do think I like it in the show. I think it's similar to the Captain America movies, like Winter Soldier movie. It kind of has that spy feel to it. Yeah.
Even the cold open title with the the Falcon and the Winter Soldier just fading over. That's very much like how the Winter Soldier looks when it opens. So I'm here for it, but I do like the standard fight cinematography, some of the quips not landing, some of the writing being a little hit or miss. Those are valid points, but the rest
part
of
me, Joe,
cinematography I
is
love.
like post WandaVision, they should have just said, "Oh, after seeing how everybody reacted to that show and the strengths of it, ooh, this is weird and wacky. I love it." They should have gone, "You know what? We're going to cut Falcon and the Winter Soldier into a movie. It's going to be just like Black Widow. From now on, when we do the weird standard action stuff, that's just for the movies. When we do the weird stuff, that's for the TV shows. That is what I would prefer. Even if they do the long release, make it like the Snyder Cut. Make it 4 hours. I don't give a shit, but I just, it's not
Well,
working.
it's only 6 right now.
It's not making me want to come back.
You could cut Snyder Cut into a mini series and it would be the same thing. So this is a 6-part, each part is a half an hour. So what's really the difference except the way that you're arbitrarily cutting it up, I guess. I
wouldn't want to see every show look like WandaVision and be WandaVision. No. The same way I wouldn't want everyone to look and feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like,
I think WandaVision coming out first built up unrealistic expectations for these other Marvel shows. So it's like, Mandalorian came out, then we're going to get all these other Star Wars shows. If they're not as good as Mandalorian, then people are going to be like, why, this isn't as good as Mandalorian. It's the same thing. WandaVision being so weird and different kind of hurt just the expectations for the other Marvel shows. But this is much more standard, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's not as unique as WandaVision, but I'm still enjoying it.
If we would have gotten it the same time as Black Widow, they both would have tanked. If Justice League had come out as the competition next to it, people would have said, this is insane, the difference. This thing feels alive. These two things,
right?
Cold fish, man.
Well, it's interesting because Black Widow was written by the same person that did WandaVision, right? So maybe, we haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's really
Chuck
good.
Taylor.
But
I hope so.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that was headed for a bomb if the theaters were open and stuff and it made its original release date. Now coming out on Disney Plus Premium or whatever, it might do better, but no one really knows this new streaming age,
John Walker, first person in American history to receive 3 Medals of Honor, ran RS-1 missions in counterterrorism and hostage rescue. The government did a study of your body at MIT, and you tested off the charts in every measurable category: speed, endurance, intelligence.
Look, here's the thing. I'm not Tony Stark. I'm not Dr. Banner. Okay, I don't have the flashiest gadgets. I don't have super strength. But what I do have is guts. Something Captain America always had, always needs to have, and I'm gonna need every ounce of it because I got big shoes to fill.
I think the comparison is really hard too, because WandaVision dropped 2 episodes opening night and they were in the gimmick. The first episode that took us out of the gimmick, I did not think was that strong. And I was kind of like, oof, I don't know if this is gonna work at all. So I think like they're TV shows. Every episode is gonna have an ebb and flow. And I think episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier I enjoyed, but it was like, oh, they didn't even get together. We don't know who the villain is. This all kind of feels like preamble. Now that we're heading into episode 3, we're going to get Zemo. I'm willing to take the ride, but I don't want I'll be kind of upset if Loki feels just like WandaVision. Like, I don't want any of these shows to feel similar at all. I think that's the beauty of doing them.
But I want surprises, and I really worry that there's not going to be any surprises.
No surprises.
I think we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. And again, it's only 6 episodes, so we're pretty much almost halfway done. We'll be back in a couple weeks to look at it, holistically. But there is stuff like John Walker meeting the power broker and realizing he wants to be Captain America and turning heel, right? And then maybe coming back. If we are leading to West Coast Avengers, I like the idea that he did get sent over there. I don't want to kill Wyatt Russell. I want him to survive this show, but I want him to go evil and come back. Right.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see what they do with him. And then the power broker, I don't know anything about that. That's obviously a name from the comics.
It's a great name.
So they're sending people to kill the flag smashers at that, and it's the power broker that's sending people. I don't understand what's going on there.
It seems like the flag smashers stole from either the power broker or U.S. agent, or maybe that's why. Like, that was supposed to be my serum, and you guys took it. You're fucked. Or the power broker's mad that they stole powers. And so it's all kind of coming in a triangle of interests here.
Right, and then Zemo, I think it's interesting that they're bringing him in. I feel like his arc kind of wrapped up really well in Civil War, where like his whole reasoning for doing what he was doing was kind of like he kind of got over it at the end. So I don't know why he would be like doing bad stuff again, but who knows?
I don't know. It seems very much like a chance to rewrite the character how he was in the comics versus how they did him as a one-off villain in Civil War, which...
Right. All right. I would say that, Joe, is that the strength of these shows? The fact that we have had even heroes, let alone villains, a population of background people who are like, that's Wanda Maximoff. And as a fan, I'm like, that's the Scarlet Witch? And they're like, no, that's Wanda Maximoff. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means. Then I get a show where she's the Scarlet Witch. We said before, Falcon is looking so much more like the Falcon now. Is it worth having these things just for the chance of, maybe I will get comic accurate Zemo? That would be cool, right?
I mean, I think so. And also, like, there are quotes from Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan floating around where they're like, yeah, our show connects to like 8 other things down the line.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, man. Like, so I'm not going to be shocked if some wild people show up before this is done. Like, I'm not going to be shocked if we see a setup for Armor Wars down the line. Like,
sure.
I'm not going to be surprised by that kind of stuff showing up. And like, the one thing I'll be mad about is if they do another like bamboozle like they did with Evan Peters. Like, don't do any more of these like, fake outs.
Right.
No more voters.
Marvel has built up so much goodwill over the years with all their movies. Pretty much, on average, their movies are, turn out really well. Even the worst ones are.
They're like near $1 billion at a minimum.
Yeah. So they pretty much. They have almost no misses when it comes to their track record. So over time, they've gotten more and more comfortable being like going full comic book and just, throwing everything in there. Whereas in the beginning, they're like, oh, we're not going to call her Scarlet Witch, all this stuff. Now there's like, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We never lose. So why not? So I think that's why it's getting more and more comic booky as it goes on.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
When has that ever gone wrong? I'm actually here for it too because of the weirdness. Like, we're getting Elijah, we're getting, U.S. agent eventually, we're getting, like I said, Zemo's coming back. That's stuff that I would normally not care about, but they set the table, and now I'm interested. I even like, Taskmaster is supposed to be in Black Widow, right? And there's a storyline with John Walker where Taskmaster teaches him how to use the shield because he can watch footage of Captain America and learn it, and then teaches that to John Walker. Like, that's cool. I don't know if that has to do with Black Widow or, if that's a thing, but...
I mean, it might. We have no idea.
Good. So the mystery is why I'm here.
The mystery, the interconnectivity of it all is great, but I don't know. I really like both of these characters, both in the MCU and in the comics. Like, I'm a Batman kid on the DC side of things. Like, Bucky and Sam are the Robins and Nightwings of the Captain America universe. So I love to see them. I do love these characters. So I'm here to take that ride. It's funny when I watch it, like Cassie's like, "Oh, that's your boy show." Like that's your boy show. That's not, she doesn't care at all about it. And I think that's totally fine. Like every one of these shows I think can hit a different audience. And this one is very much like, you like spy thrillers, you like Captain America, you want to see the MCU on the ground move forward. This is the show for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even when they go into the they're talking about the big three. It's one of the big three and all this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's funny. If I didn't see that in a trailer like 15 times before I saw it, I would have thought it was funnier. But yeah,
Which, by the way, I
man.
think The Hobbit didn't get wide distribution until like 1938. So he would had to been really a fan of fantasy to track that book down in 1937. So Bucky's a huge nerd. I'm just saying, confirmed.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Lord of the Rings didn't come out till the 50s, Mike. I'm mad he never got to read those. That's terrible.
He slept
He had to
through.
catch up.
He woke
got
up
to
for
see the movies
movies
when he
Just imagine him as the Winter Soldier, like sitting in a movie theater in 2005.
Yes.
Oh,
like,
man.
waiting to go murder.
Extended editions.
Here's what I'm wondering, right? So you said, where's Steve Rogers, right? We know he's an old man now. He's still alive, but he's an old man. Most of the world thinks he's dead or doesn't know he's an old man. Do you think we're going to get like a Chris Evans cameo at some point in the show where they go visit him or something like that?
I hope so. I mean, like, I want to know where he is. Like, if he's dead, I'm gonna be pissed that you didn't open with that, because that's the place to open. But no, I think we need it. I think we need to at least know where he is at, even if it's a cameo from behind where he's like, "You did good" at the end of the adventure. That is enough.
Joe, I would say, knowing the formula, he just puts on the Captain America outfit, Sam. He pulls the shield up from behind. We hear, "Never looked better."
Yeah.
Around.
I would say
And that's it. Yeah.
sometimes not everything goes according to plan. Yeah, like teaches him a life lesson, and that's the conversation.
I hope the series ends with Bucky saying, "Steve, put me on that time pad too. I also deserve to live in the right time period. This is a hellscape for me. Please send me back to where I'm comfortable."
What? Goodbye, Bucky.
Goodbye. Enjoy 2025.
Yep. Bucky's in the
Technically,
bar.
Bucky should be the one on the moon hanging out. That's a nod that they, in the comics, that is eventually Bucky for a long time just like goes up to the moon and chills
Watcher on
with
the
the
wall.
Watcher.
And then hangs out with Luther from
that's what I
Umbrella
was
Academy.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
The Moon Bros.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just when he's at the bar and the lady's like, how old are you? He's like 106. You know, she thinks it's a joke. It's like, oh, man, you poor old guy.
I love that. Those are great lines. The Hobbit line. Any other stuff before we get to final thoughts you want to point out? The Joaquin Torres, who's Sam's military, contact. Whatever. I think that's one of the worst characters Marvel's ever put out. Falcon, watch out! What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Just act like you're in the Goonies.
Well, no, he's a little fanboy. That character goes on to become Falcon's sidekick, the new Falcon.
Cool.
So we'll see if they do that.
Yeah, and when he was the one who gets to introduce the Flag Smashers and
get your ass
explain their
kicked.
ideology in 2 seconds. Oh, they want the world to go back to the way it was during the blip. They want to abolish all borders, but they're bad. Though.
Here's the thing you gotta understand about the Flag Smashers. They hate borders. Oh, the bookstore?
Yeah.
Flags too.
Borders thrive during the blip because the CEO of Barnes and Nobles was gone. So
Books, we're back in fashion.
But, like their whole idea.
I go to media play.
They don't want the same people can't be in power that were before the blip. That's their whole idea behind it. I don't know. It just seems like they're building. Maybe it's my own personal bias, but they're building. Obviously, making those characters more of anti-heroes than villains.
But the fact that Disney is walking those lines, I think is really interesting. Like, I think this show honestly has more potential to surprise us now that we're through WandaVision. Because WandaVision, like, I mean, everything that we thought was going to be big ended up either going away by the end of the show or being a fake out, a boner fake out, a real boner moment. This
really
like
boned us.
Things that happen could stick. You know what I mean? Like, this is really the stakes are what they are. This is not in a bubble.
Yeah, for sure. Again, looking forward to seeing where it's going. I guess if there's anything else about this, talking about flag smashers and things, it's about the nature of power. Where does power come from? Who has it? Who doesn't? Right? Do you have power just because you're called Captain America? Do you give up power? Right? What is power in society as far as racial profiling and like where is power derived and how do you take
You're a
it? How do you
superhero,
get
but
it?
you can't get alone.
Exactly. So those themes I think are also very interesting. I like the punch, but I much like the Karate Kid Cobra Kai show. What I like least about this show is the action, and what I like most is the characters and the themes. So
Agreed.
yeah, right.
There you go.
So we'll see.
I love them sad boy Bucky moments. I'm
I
here
love
for
sad
it,
boy
man.
Bucky, man.
He's
All right.
a sad boy.
Well, if that's it, should we? Got my metal arm, rip off my sleeve here, jump out the airplane, and get some final thoughts when we hit the ground on Normies Like Us.
So what's our plan? So no plan. Right.
I'm just saying, can I join the Flag Smashers? Are they taking applications?
You're really into the flag. See, here's the thing.
I'm
get
pro
it.
smashing flags.
I'm pro, like, I'm not very, let's say, nationalist. I like the idea of Star Trek, one world. But the transition phase between having a lot of governments to getting one government means there's going to be a long period of time where there's a lot of suffering for the average populace. And that I don't want to be a part of. If I can just jump to when we have one world, one love, yeah, give me that. I don't want to be in the transition.
I'm just pro abolishing all borders and, one world, one people.
All
That's all I'm
right.
saying.
One
Put it on a T-shirt, man. You got to get on the message boards that Jimmy
right.
Olsen was tracking so hard.
That's
Oh,
right.
man. Well, we'll see what the flags. I think they are kind of put in a gray zone. Obviously, the regular citizens are offering them help.
Right.
And, yeah. So we'll see where
They
it goes.
feel very much like a MacGuffin to me, but I'm here for it, I guess.
Yeah. The real threat is going to probably come from within. Yeah. Who knows?
The call's coming from inside the house.
There you go. Nice.
The real threat is imperialism.
Dang. And that's why we got to switch to metric ASAP. So, final thoughts. Captain Soldier and the Winter Falcon.
That's right.
That joke. Let me bring up a couple things that I'm hoping I see that I just learned from researching. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by U.S. Agent John Walker. It might just be Wyatt Russell, because I love Kurt Russell. But Johnny Walker, whiskey, at a certain point in time, he gets a new identity where he becomes Jack Daniels. Is this true? And if so, can it happen?
What?
Oh, wow. I didn't until you just said that. I did not put John Walker together either. Wow, that's great.
Johnny Walker and
Johnny
Jack
Walker.
Daniels becomes his
Johnny
other
Walker.
alias. So
And Jim Beam.
that's his third one, yeah.
Look up Mike and
Then finally
Normie.
Hibiki.
Look up a character Nuke, right, Joe? Nuke is a character where it's
Yes.
like the balance of patriotism that they have to do. He's a maniac with an American flag on his face. He was in a couple seasons of Jessica Jones, but
Oh,
they're gonna
yeah.
throw all that out. It doesn't matter.
They got to throw that out.
Um,
Yeah.
He is to me where they could blow it with U.S. Agent if they lean too far to Nuke, right, Joe? But
Mhm.
if they can just ride that line, baby.
Yeah, U.S. Agent has to be a character of controversy. Really, this whole show to succeed has to push some people's buttons. It's got to really make some right-wing folks mad, and it's really got to annoy some left-wing folks at the same time. It has to walk a line that I'd be shocked if Disney. I'm shocked that they're even trying to do it now. So we'll see. But I'm not looking forward to a bunch of people being like, John Walker was better than Steve
Oh,
Rogers.
shut up.
It's gonna happen. I'm telling you.
You're
Especially if he
totally
does
right.
one bad guy thing, people are gonna be like, "Well, yeah."
Well, it's interesting. I think some of the things that they could do have already kind of been done pretty well by the show The Boys, right? With
Totally. Make him a Homelander.
Homelander, yeah, they
Mhm.
kind of already do like the critique of nationalism with him, so that's interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I'm most intrigued by that character and Sad Boy Bucky, and I want to see it go both ways. And yeah, I mean, I'm here for the next 4 episodes. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts is just I'm enjoying it so far, and like I'll probably watch every Marvel property that comes out this year, which there's a lot of them. So I'm here for the ride, and I think I'm enjoying it so far. So I don't have too much more to say about it, but yeah.
It's not homework to you, Jacob, to keep up with all this stuff yet.
No, it's not. I mean, WandaVision, I was skeptical at first. I was like, what's this show going to be? Got really into it as it went on. This show, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to watch it anyways, not expecting really anything. And so far, it's been better than I expected. I'll say that.
Joe, I'm going to let you go last so we can end on some positive.
Tell us why it's bad, Colin.
Okay.
So I think I'm hitting the wall. I think the fact that I sit down, I watch my Superman and Lois. I binged Invincible this weekend, didn't like it. The Snyder Cut, where I was like, this is fucking whatever it is, but at least it was kind of getting me there a little bit. And every time I tune into Captain America and the Winter Bird, I just go, boy, I don't know. It might be the fatigue setting in. It might be time finally.
But how can you have Marvel fatigue when they took basically a year off during the pandemic, where we had Spider-Man Far From Home, and then didn't have a project for a year until WandaVision, right?
It sounds like it's more just superhero fatigue than
it
Marvel
might
fatigue.
be, but post the Zack Snyder stuff, Joe, it might truly be that I'm seeing the strings now. That I look at the Marvel where I go, Jesus Christ, they are doing it, you fools. Just don't do what they say you do for one episode, and I'll feel better about defending you.
Zach got his tendrils in. You're Schneider boy
He
now.
got you,
Boy,
Doc. He Snydered you.
I never thought I'd say
Restore
it, but boy,
the
here we are.
Zack-pilled.
Restore the
The
Falconverse.
Snyderverse.
With the DC, with Justice League, Zack Snyder, basically he's all about superheroes are gods. He doesn't give a shit about normal people. It's all about they're gods among men. That's his entire thesis, right? Marvel, they're all about, no, these are real people having real life problems, basically.
Yes.
So we see, Bucky and Falcon having their real life problems in the show. So it's just different. If you want to see literal gods, watch the Justice Cut. If you want to see, human empathy and stuff, watch the Marvel.
That is so true, Jacob. And I also love that it sets up a realistic world where if you're Captain America, you can just get your friend a job and he can just say, my name is Battlestar. That gives me hope that if they turn Joe into Captain America, he'll be like, you also got to hire Colin. And he goes by, butthole now. I'd be like, that's right.
You call him that, you put us up in a penthouse. That's how this goes, all right?
Yeah, we're fighting fucking crime. I'm a super soldier and that's my friend.
Load the plane, no parachutes. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
That's what I'll say.
It's not like I'm not going to watch it all. I don't know.
Which is the cool joke of it. Like, you can say whatever you want. You're still going to tune in.
Exactly. But I just so fear that out loud, every time I'm like, oh, they said Sharon Carter's name in that last episode about how, the stakes were harder for her. I bet in the next episode, Sharon shows up. Oh, Zemo's going to get out and he's going to do something. Oh, there goes Zemo. He got out and he's going to do something. If it can do one rug pull to me, not that it has to. I don't think that media has to be good to be surprising in that sort of way. I just want some excitement out of it, or to see something different. If it did the race card at the end, like if John Walker said the lines, I couldn't be racist, I have a Latinx wife, I would be like, oh shit, never mind. This is my favorite show ever made. Like, this is crazy. Who knows? We could get there.
Well, Colin, I think when you look ahead on the Marvel schedule, I understand the fatigue, even, looking at some of these projects like the Eternals, Shang-Chi, all these, there's going to be like 5 different Marvel movies, not counting Loki and this show, coming out, by this time next year, there'll be literally like 5 movies, I think, that'll have come out since then. So that's insane to think about. And you still have Black Widow, you have Doctor Strange. So I can understand the fatigue of, not being totally into all of these projects.
Even if we got out of the paired stuff, the fact that it's WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, that it's just a Loki show, that I look at and I go, okay, that just might be wild. That just might be a wild Loki thing.
I'm
The
not
fact
as
that they
into the
try to
Loki
get us-
show, I don't think.
But Jacob, are you into when they go, oh, you know, this guy in 1932 voiced Spider-Man in a Spider-Man cartoon. He's in the Spider-Verse movie that we're putting together. You know, we've got 18
Yes.
different Spider-Men.
Yes, I
Fuck
am.
you. We got all the spiders you could want. Does that get you going?
More
Mhm.
than, I mean, I want to see a Spider-Man movie more than I want to see a Loki TV show. for sure.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see what the, No Way Home, that'll be interesting. I mean, my levels of excitement for these different Marvel projects differ, but I'll still probably watch them all
Up and down.
because you
Yeah.
kind of have to just to stay connected to everything that's going on. That's the genius of it, right?
It's not going to be that way forever. I am the Reaper here to say that. It's not Marvel. It's not going to be that way forever, buddy.
My argument is also it doesn't have to be. Like Cassie calls Falcon and the Winter Soldier my boy show. She doesn't watch it. She doesn't care for it. Doesn't care about these characters. She loved WandaVision. She'll probably love What If. Loki, we'll see. Like, I don't think you have to love everything Marvel makes to consider yourself a Marvel fan. And let's not kid ourselves. Like, they're gonna give you the cliff notes whenever these characters show up again.
Of course.
It's not Zack Snyder where we're gonna open with the close of the last movie. It's not gonna happen. Like, there will be John Walker, the new Captain America, and like a little nod and point, and that's enough.
Hold
You
on.
don't need to watch.
And
the
when
whole
John
show.
Walker dies, he's not going to wake up the mother boxes, Joe? Is that what you're saying to me right
No,
now?
I don't. I
The
don't think
John
so.
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Big crossover event. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit my final thoughts then, so we can get out of
Please.
here. Colin, you brought up Nuke. There's a great line in a Captain America comic where he's talking to Nuke after he's kind of disarmed him, and he's got him laying on the ground, and he says, "Patriotism taken too far is nationalism." I feel like that is kind of the thesis of this show in a way. I feel like Captain America, like I said before, is best when he is a critique of America. To me, Captain America stories are Bruce Springsteen songs. They are criticisms of America. They are folk tales played loud by Republicans who don't really get the message. I think this show has a really great opportunity to hold a mirror up to some stuff and also highlight some characters that don't get their day in the sun in the comics. They really don't. They've been sidekicks. The fact that we're getting a show with Falcon as the lead is pretty incredible, and I think that's worth celebrating, and I'm here for it.
Awesome.
That's it.
Wow. Joe, even if it is the typical Marvel formula, that's only ever been for a person of color to Black Panther. You are right. There is something about just tell the story. Let the story exist. I love that about it. You're totally right, dude.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get some commentary on our superheroes. And Zack Snyder did it first.
With his commentary on
They're inventing
4-hour cuts.
superheroes.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Do the exaggerations of themes, right? So yeah, I'm here, Falcon Winter Soldier, and more superhero stuff to come. My favorite superhero from my childhood is going to be up next week. That's Godzilla.
No way, King Kong,
A
big
great
monkey.
rogues gallery.
Big monkey team, big monkey fam.
monkey. Yeah,
We're Team Big Monkey.
Return the monkey.
I'm team. They're going to team up anyway, so we'll get there. But meanwhile, we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which it's not the Winter Soldier in this. It's just Bucky. He's left that life
White
behind.
Wolf.
Yeah, White Wolf. So, yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to tune in next time to the show, and we'll catch you on the next Normies Like Us. And Colin, please plug those socials.
Us up at normies_like_us. Follow our YouTube page. We're doing stuff there too. Like, subscribe, review. That helps us out. We swear to God. Leave us comments or message us and say, yeah, you're talking about this, but I really wanted you to talk about that. I loved your Aladdin episode. Why didn't you bring up the fact that Star Spangled Man with a Plan, the song that Captain America sings to, is also Alan Menken, the person that did the Aladdin music? I don't know, random YouTube guy. Fucking
Guess
leave
what?
us alone. You
Just brought it up.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
watch
so
till the end.
there you
'cause
go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit us up as always. And as always, we've been your hosts. This is Baron Colin.
The Pod Smasher.
Sad boy Bucky Joe.
This is the Winter Jacob. My superpower is that I have seasonal affective disorder. See you later, Normies.
He's using his power right now. Bye.
Bye.